On today's video, we're taking a look at the Transformers Haslab Liokaiser.
It's morphin' time!
Hello, this is Soundout here, and welcome to my review of the Transformers Legacy Haslab Liokaiser, based on Transformers Victory. So this is the most recent Transformers Haslab, and it's also, I think, the last Transformers release with the Transformers Legacy logo. It's very interesting. Sometimes they update the logos on the packaging to match whatever the current line is, but they kept the Legacy branding even though we're, I don't know, what is this, nearing the end of Age of the Primes. But it's kind of interesting they did that. It doesn't really mean anything in the long run, I just wanted to point it out. But Liokaiser's box artwork is gorgeous. I think this is like a really nice rendition of Liokaiser, very anime inspired. And then seeing all of his components and all of the team members down here is awesome as well. And I love that they're very much in the expressions you'd expect from the anime. And you even got Killbison doing his middle finger pose, just without the middle finger. So really nice attention to detail. And I love that we have the Victory logo with the Decepticon coloring, or the Destron coloring, which is super cool. Very, very large box, if you can see. It is huge. The Victory Saber and Death Star's boxes were pretty big, but this is even bigger. On the side, of course, we got a nice shot of all his components: Leozack, Gaihawk, Killbison, Jaruga, Drillhorn, and Ellbat. The Deathcobra is not on the side, but you see over here we do have all the same profile images, which is nice. On the top, got like a nice product shot of Liokaiser fully combined there, and then on the bottom you got a shot of him on the stand, and then on the back is where they throw in Deathcobra. So you can see we got standard Liokaiser, and then we got the Deathcobra stuff, and we will explain, of course, Deathcobra and everything there. I did do an unboxing on a live stream of this, but it is sectioned off into trays. There's one tray with accessories, one tray that's all the jets, one that is one that has Deathcobra and one of the legs, and one that has Jaruga and one of the legs. So it's nice and neat. But one of my favorite things about this is that with previous Haslabs for Transformers, they usually give us an instruction sheet that is kind of the standard that we'd see in the retail toys, where it's the big fold out. But no, this time we get a booklet, an actual stapled booklet with pages. And then each page here, you can see this is the breakdown of the contents inside each box, for those wondering. But this is a full-on booklet where there's a couple pages for the BreastForce, breast animals, and then you've got 2 pages for each character, right? So Gaihawk, that's how you transform him from vehicle to robot, and that's how you transform him from robot to arm. But notice that it's full color. So you get the full color, and it just kind of highlights what is new. And it is a actual booklet. It's not the roadmap that came with like Omega Prime, where you got to like lay it out into giant chunks. This is just perfectly laid out, and then it goes through the combination and all the accessories and everything. I just want to give compliments because I feel like with the premium Transformers, I would love to see us get booklets, because yeah, this is so much nicer than having to fold out the gigantic roadmap like we've seen with some of the Haslabs. Now, of course, we're going to take a look at the details of everything that Liokaiser has to entail within the box, and I'm very excited for it. And if you're excited for it and you're enjoying the video, hit the like button, hit subscribe, and the notification bell if you haven't already. Helps the channel, helps me, helps us continue to do cool things like this. So let's take a look at Liokaiser in full detail, starting, of course, with his individual components. Alright, so we're starting with Leozack, who is the leader of the BreastForce, or the ChestForce, or the Chest Masters. So the reason why these guys are called such what is a funny name in English is, of course, Transformers Victory was a Japanese series, and of course, the term breast does not apply to one specific thing that, a lot of the times gets used in English, but is more so, supposed to be like the chest. So that's why the official Hasbro name is ChestForce, or Chest Masters. But the official original Japanese name is BreastForce. That's a long explanation, so that way when you hear me say the word BreastForce, you kind of know I'm talking about like this area of the chest. So that is kind of what we're going on there. Now, Leozack, of course, he is a plane, as you can see. He is a jet. But let me explain why they're called BreastForce. That's because they have the breast animals. And so this is a lion breast or lion chest. And you can see he is a lion, right? And he's Leozack. And so the way that these work is that you've got like one little guy here, and then you can flip this peg out, fold his head away, fold up his legs, and then now he is a blaster for Leozack. Or if you flip this little piece in, now he's a chest plate for Leozack, or a breastplate, or, you know, breast animal, BreastForce. That's how it works. Now, for the vehicle mode, you can plug the breast animal right there on the chest, and it still holds, and the landing gear will kind of float because it kind of sticks out a little bit, but you do have that option. They kept this guy pretty clean, so there's not like a port up top to plug it. So if you want to keep it attached to him, you can do that. I'm going to detach it because part of their transformation is attaching it in robot mode. Now, in terms of vehicle mode, he does have his wings. They do pivot all the way up because it's a transformation joint. But if you wanted to have them kind of swooped back, or if you wanted to have them come out a little bit, you've got that going on. Not the cleanest jet mode in the world. There's a whole robot down there. Basically, true to their original design, these guys have a simplistic sort of transformation from vehicle to robot because they also have to turn into their combination form for Liokaiser. So overall, pretty nice and slick. But yeah, let's get them transformed. The transformation on these guys I find to be pretty straightforward and simple. And the good part is that we've been having, you know, there's been a discussion with Liokaiser in particular, which is the quality control, because the quality control on Omega Prime was really rough. You can go check out my whole video on Omega Prime if you want more details on that. So I'm happy to report that so far, in my experience with the whole set, I've not experienced anything that makes me go, oh, this could be a problem later, or this could be an issue. And I've also found that joint tolerances have been very, very nice. Almost didn't show this little bit. These parts come together after forming around the head. But overall, I found that joint tolerances, transformation, everything just seems to work really, really nice. And so there is Leozack. And so here's his robot mode. Very nice and very animation styled. I love the heads on these guys. Like they got the personalities down, I think, quite well. Very nicely painted as well. And so I think that's the thing that I do appreciate about this set, is the fact that all the components and everything does feel nice and tight, like they're brand new molds. And I like little things like this, like the hip skirts lock in to hold the legs down for transformation, but you can unclip them, and then now he's got full range of movement. So, of course, we're gonna plug on his breast animal. Boom, there we go. Now he looks more complete, as we'd expect for Leozack. So the other cool part with this guy, and then just kind of him in general, is that he's very well articulated. So we've got ball jointed head up here. We've got shoulders that move 360, though the wings kind of get in the way, but you can move them around. Then you've got outward shoulders. You've got an elbow swivel and an elbow bend. He's got a ball jointed wrist that's in there. It kind of floats a little bit, so if you want to turn it, you can. It's a little tight. Would be maybe a little cautious with that. He does have a waist swivel, a little limited, but still works. Hips that move out, hips that move forward, hips that move back, knees that bend, knees that rotate at the knee, ankles that pivot, and that's kind of cool because instead of having like a whole big block pivot, you can just pivot the ankles on the guy. And so he's got, you know, your full range of movement while also being a combiner. In terms of weaponry, he does have this going on, which of course, like I mentioned, is kind of the other thing that I'm having trouble getting him to kind of balance. These parts here kind of stick out, but there we go. So this here will fold him into a gun, and so Lion Breast can become his main weapon. So you've got that going on. Does look a little strange because the chest designs are clearly done with the breast animals in place for BreastForce, so, you know, kind of makes a lot of sense. But there's Leozack, and honestly, I think he's pretty awesome, and he's a good first impression for the team. Now, the cool part, too, with this set, and I think I realized I did it slightly out of order here, the set includes these, which are stands, and there's 3 of them. And we'll talk about how you can use all 3 in conjunction, but there's 3 of these that are essentially identical, that come with an identical set of accessories. So we're going to kind of just go through one of them right now. But we have a nice display stand, and the display stand has multiple functions. So this arm can be repositioned. You can plug it in more forward or more back. You can plug it in so that you can attach a figure to it. So there's a peg here and there's a slot here. But on the bottom, it has the multiple components of Liokaiser's weapons. And if you take two of these, like the spear and the point on the end, you can make a staff, and then you can give that to the individual components because they can hold those as well. So you've got that going on. So if you want blaster and spear, you can do that. If you want just the spear, so that way he's got a weapon, then you can do that as well. Now, since he's a flyer, he does have the ability to connect to the flying port. You can see there's a slot right there. So I guess for this, we'll need to have this facing this way. And then you can slot him in like this. And then now you can have a flying Leozack to fly above the team. Now, in vehicle mode, you can also attach them to this stand, but I'm going to hold that off until we have the whole team together, because there's a really cool thing you can do when you have all three stands in formation. But I'm going to leave him like that for the moment, because it's kind of fun. You can have him attached to the stand like that, and he holds pretty secure. He's not going to go anywhere. Actually, getting him off was a little bit more tricky than I thought. So yeah, that's kind of the way that the whole team works, is that you can give them a spear weapon, you can attach them to the stand for the flying guys. But let's take a look at the rest of the team, because I think we want to kind of get ourselves going on assembling the whole BreastForce here. All right, next up is Drillhorn, who is a drill tank. One of the cool things about Transformers Victory is that a lot of its characters are combiner components, which means the majority of the Decepticon/Destron forces in Victory are combiner components, which means they started debuting the components of Liokaiser way before they actually debuted Liokaiser as a combination. If you think about, like, in Transformers G1 or pretty much most Transformers media, when they have a combiner, you get like all 6 Constructicons and then they form Devastator that same episode. But because of the nature of Victory having a smaller toy line and not that many villains, they actually started introducing them a lot earlier. And so it gave them a little bit more range of personality and more characteristics. And so I think Drillhorn's kind of the grizzled veteran of the whole BreastForce team. Now, what's cool too is that he does have the drill, which does move because it is on I think it's a 5mm peg. And so you can drill it, which is awesome. I love that they kept that kind of feature to it. And he does have wheels on the treads, so he can roll, which is super cool. His breast animal is horn breast or horn chest or rhino chest, however you want to call it. But he is, of course, a little rhino guy. And then he can turn, of course, into a gun. But we were going to put him into chest plate form first, because that's going to be where we go next. And then transformation. And what's very interesting is that with the leg components, they have this really cool system with the legs. So you pull these panels, and then you pop this off, and you pop this off, and then you extend the legs. But I do want to let you guys know, because I already messed this up, if you don't have the hands turned back, the pegs that are right here, like this peg, can't go into that hand slot. And so for me, I had the hands turned like this, and then I put this in, and I pushed it, and it actually knocked the hand out of the mushroom peg. So, yeah, be cautious when you go to put this back. Like, make sure you've got the hand turned correctly, so because it lines up beautifully when you line it up. Just don't be a dummy like me and not do that. And then what's cool too is that from here you kind of unpeg it, move it a little bit, line that back up, plug it in, line that up, plug it in, and it's all very nice and solid. And then you just unpeg the arms, bring this, oh no, we'll do that as a dramatic reveal at the end. Bring the little feet out. These transform, like I said, with Leozack, very well and very distinctively. Like, they're really straightforward and they're fun. I was able to kind of figure out most of these just by handling it without actually having to look at the instruction book. And then let's do our dramatic head reveal. Boom, there he is. And then we'll get his breastmaster on. Now, the important part with the leg guys is you see there's these 2 slots on either side that have to line up with the animal leg slots to get it all to go in correctly. For the jet guys, they just have to peg on. For these guys, they have to line up quite nice. But there we go. There is Drillhorn, who looks super cool. Nice and blue. You can see Very nice anime-styled head sculpt. Lots of personality and detail there, which I really like. And then, of course, he does have, what do we know it? Articulation. So, articulation range, he's got ball-jointed neck. Nice and neat. The shoulders kind of work weird. They do this number, which just looks a little strange because it's not a normal component, but that's just the way that like the combination is going to work out. The arms move out, elbows bend, rotate, wrists do rotate. Like I said, they are on mushroom pegs, so just be careful not to knock them out. He does get a nice chunky waist swivel, hips that move out, forward and back, knees that bend, and a little bit of a thigh swivel, which is actually cleverly hidden in the sculpt. And so you'd be kind of surprised. And then his ankles do tilt down here, so you can get some nice adjustment. He's not going to be as posable as Leozack, because he's just a lot chunkier. But you got that going on. And then, of course, horn breast can become the gun. So let's give him that. And then just like with Leozack, he does get his own spear. There are 6 spears, so you do get one for every main component. And you got that going on. You can't attach him to the flight stand, I don't think, which would be kind of silly, but I don't think this peg fits. Nah, it doesn't connect there. So he is stuck to the ground, but he's pretty cool. He's pretty cool overall. All right, next up we have Gaihawk, in Japan spelled G-U-Y Hawk, and in the Liokaiser Haslab release called G-A-I Hawk. Anyways, Guyhawk. He's a guy who's a hawk. But yeah, no, he's pretty cool. He's one of the jets. He's different, of course, than Leozack's jet mode, but he's very similar to Hellbat's jet mode, because symmetry. But this is really cool. He's got landing gear here. His feet back here kind of act as opposite landing gears, so that way it nicely balances out. Of course, we do have his partner, which is Hawk Breast or Hawk Chest, who's pretty much just a kind of a flat slab. The others have a little bit more going for him. This one's kind of just flat, but fold him up. There's his chest plate mode, and then there's his blaster mode, because he's got, blaster tail fins. So, of course, if you wanted to store him down here, you totally can, and unlike Leozack, it doesn't interrupt the landing gear. So that's a nice improvement. Of course, we do need to transform this guy. So, what I like about the jet ones, which are the arms, is they just feel very nice, because they have a lot of ratcheted parts to them. It's also really clever because this thruster area back here is actually the hand for the combination, which I think is super cool. But the way this kind of works is you got to kind of split them. Oh yeah, so you got to pull the hand, split the leg, then pull the panel here down to pull this leg out, and then this panel closes up. And then you fold it with the foot, and you're done on that side. And then on this side, which is the side with the hand, you got to get it up and around, and then the hand neatly tucks away into the leg, flip the foot, boom. There's half your robot right there. And then we can get that lined back up, pull these around, bring the fists forward, pull the nose cone of the jet back and down, very classic-like. And then we can spin his head around, and there's Gaihawk. Let's get his breast on, boom, done. I really love the look of this guy. He's one of my favorite of the individual robot modes. I think he's just really slick and cool. I like the magenta, the borderline pink color to him. And I think just overall, he's just a very nice silhouette. And of course, he's got a very neat personality to the head design, which I think is super awesome. So really like this guy. I hope his color's coming through on camera. We'll find out in editing. But the fun part here, yeah, you just take this off, boom, there's his blaster. Of course, you can give him a spear, because there's spears for everybody, or at least spears for the ones that are going to combine. And I do think that without the chest plate on him, he looks pretty good. I think the others we've looked at so far look a little gappy. He looks pretty good. Articulation-wise, head, ball joints, shoulders move out, elbows bend, rotate, wrists rotate. The waist does rotate, but you kind of need to shift them forward to rotate up there, because this is just basically the arm joints for Liokaiser. It also means you can get some cool ab crunch. Hips move out, forward, back, thigh swivel, knee bend, and then these ankle pivots that I really like. So he's pretty awesome. Probably my favorite look overall of the ones we've taken a look at so far. And let's not forget, you can put him on the flight stand, though it's a little bit different than Leozack. With Leozack, you use the tab side. This uses the hole side and the peg, so you just plug that on like that, and then boom, there he is, flying about. Next we have Jallguar. Now Jallguar's got a weird name. The English one for this release is Jaruga, but he's also known as Jallguar. He's supposed to be like Jaguar combined with something else, but he is an off-road like racer type vehicle, and he looks super cool. You know, he's just a straight up car, right? We got like 2 tanks, 3 jets, and a really cool race car with some missile pods up here. And he's, yeah, you can kind of see where his robot mode is. That's not hiding too much. But what I do like about him is just he looks different than the others, and he looks pretty neat. Now, this guy does have the unfortunate task of, much like Long Haul for Devastator, he is the waist. And so the original toy was a little bit off because he had to be the whole waist component. But the one cheat piece they used for the combiner was the waist. The hips and like waist piece for Liokaiser is just a separate component. And I'm totally cool with this because it makes this guy work a lot better. And the cool part too is you can see we got the wheels here, which are supposed to be replacements for these in the final combination. But you can peg this in right there, like that. And then you can peg these wheels on top of the other wheels. And you can see they painted and sculpted in a missile rack. So now instead of just having like this extra waist piece off to the side, you can just have Jallguar just running around with just a ton of weapons. And I really like that. Now, he doesn't roll as nice because it's got a little bit of drag on the back, but he does have a couple extra wheels and that. I do love the way they did this. I know some people want like, you know, straight combination. I do agree, but I think this is always the part of a combiner that just gets messy. And so I don't mind that being a separate piece, especially when it's integrated this well into the vehicle mode. And then, of course, he does have his Breastmaster, Chestmaster, which is Jaguar breast or Jaguar chest or Jaguar chest animal or whatever you want to call it. But there he is. Look at him. So he's pretty cool. It's very interesting because his color scheme doesn't necessarily match his, right? Like he's not black and orange. He's basically, what is it? He's Snapdragon colors, which is kind of cool. But of course, like all the other Chestmaster, Breastmasters, you can plug them on in vehicle mode, and it doesn't interrupt the rolling, which is nice to see as well. All right, so we'll take the waist piece away. We'll bring it back at some point in the future, and let's transform this guy. So he does have one other bit of parts forming, which is fine, because this is always the hardest one to do, is the one that becomes the waist, right? So the parts forming is you just take these little missile pods and then you plug them onto the side, so then you can have a normal foot. That's fine. I'm cool with that. It's also neat because they are 5mm peg compatible, so if you wanted to plug these onto, I think they plug onto the wheels, they can plug onto the wheels or anything else that uses 5mm ports. So compatibility with other toys, which I think is nice. But yeah, otherwise he is exceedingly simple to transform. That's just because the nature of his overall existence is he's the waist one, and so the waist ones are always kind of screwy, but works for him. And then boom, there he is. There is Jallguar. So I like this. I also think he's probably got my favorite head out of all of them. I think that's just like the cocky smirk is so perfect for him. And I think it just translates well to the final design. Of course, he does have articulation, so he's got ball-jointed neck, shoulders at 360, shoulders move out, elbow swivel, elbow bend, wrist swivel, waist swivel, hips that move out, forward, back, thigh swivel, knee bend. That is so good. That's probably one of the best knee bends I've ever seen. And then he's got big old ankle tilts that are, you know, this is the traditional ankle tilt on Transformers. So you've got that going for him. And then, of course, Jaguar breast can become a gun. So you just, I mean, this is actually just take the breast part and just fold out the little pistol part. So boom, there we go, like that. And then we have a spear for him as well. And yeah, pretty awesome. I love the head sculpt on him in particular. And then also the chest looks like it's got a gaping hole in it without the piece in it. So that's just kind of how some of these go. They can't all look great without a giant chunk of them missing. Next up, we have Killbison. Now, Killbison, I think, has probably the worst vehicle mode out of all of them. But I do kind of appreciate his character. He's like the rude one of the bunch. Like, they're all, all bad guys and stuff, but he's like the rude one. He'll flip you off. It's kind of funny because Killbison is kind of known for that, because it's just like kind of insane. There's a official Transformer frame where characters flipping off another one. Funny that's happened a couple times now. But anyways, this is great for that. But yeah, he is very much just, that is definitely 100% a leg that you've attached a cannon to. So there you go. But in terms of design, yeah, it's not anything too crazy. It's just, there it is. The cannon does rotate back and forth, and you can input or pivot the guns. I don't know why I said input. Pivot the guns up and down. Also, the guns do come off, and they do have 5mm ports, I believe. Is that yeah, that's a 5mm port. So they can plug around. So if you wanted to plug them like that, you totally got that option as well. I like how they decked out ports on this guy. So, unlike some of the others, you can actually plug on, well, here's Bison Breast, or Bison Chest, which is a Bison as a Breastmaster. Not Breastmaster, that's actually not what they're called. They're just called breast animals. Anyways, they broke the naming convention. Brain Master, Titan Master, Head Master, breast animals. But you actually plug this one on the top for extra firepower, which is, I think, probably the only one you can do that with. You don't have to just relegate them to the bottom. That being said, you can relegate them to the bottom, and it won't interrupt the flow of traffic for those wheels. Rolls similar, and also transforms similar to our good buddy, Drillhorn. Sometimes I get in front of a camera, and then I start like talking, and then suddenly just my brain stops remembering things that I said like 5 minutes ago. Anyways, he transforms exactly the same, which is nice because I actually really like this transformation overall, especially with the way these legs come together, because they just feel super duper solid. But yeah, he transforms exactly the same as Drillhorn. The only difference being the arms, because instead of folding the panel back, you rotate this forward, and then you bring his hands into place. As a reminder, keep the hands in that position when you go to transform them into vehicle mode or leg mode, because that is how it's going to fit. And then the other bit of transformation that's different is his head's not just there under the Drillhorn. You actually have to pull this panel back, flip his head up, plug it back on, bring it back down, and then you're good to go. And we're going to plug his Breastmaster right on to the chest. All right, so check out this really cool head sculpt. Love the horns, love the faceplate. Most of the guys do have open mouths, so it's kind of different that he has a faceplate, which I think is fun. So yeah, that is Killbison. So there he is. Ta-da! Cool part too with this guy, in addition to just looking super stocky and thick, of course you can do the weapon mode for the Breastmaster, as you would expect. So we'll just plug that on. Haven't tested this. Let's just test it now. Can I take a cannon off of his waist and give it to him in his hand? Because that'd be fun. That'd be fun if that was possible. Yeah, it's doable. So yeah, if you wanted to leave the breast in place on his chest like that, and then just give him the cannons from his vehicle mode, that's totally an option. I actually really like that. That looks awesome. Of course, he does get a spear, just like the others. So you can give him the spear, which would be honestly terrifying with how gigantic this guy looks, just coming at you with a spear. But I like that he can hold the cannons. That's a really, really nice addition to the overall look of Killbison. All right, so here we have Hellbat, or Ellbat, which Ellbat, which is his English name for the Haslab, is very funny to me, especially if you know Spanish. But Hellbat looks really cool. So he is a blue jet, and he's got yellow wings. He's got the dirge color scheme. But this guy here has the most interesting story out of all the components on their own. So Hellbat was not originally chosen to be part of Liokaiser. He was a part of the BreastForce, and they had 7 members. They had at least 7 members, and they ultimately decided, yeah, we're just going to fire that Hellbat guy. He's not worth anything. We only need 6 of us to make the combination, so we don't really need him. And he overhears this, and he decides to take out his competition, because Deathcobra was coming in, and Deathcobra was going to be the component for Liokaiser. And after pleading with Deathcobra to let him take the spot, Hellbat after Deathcobra refuses, actually. Hellbat says, well, fine then, and then murders Deathcobra so we can get the spot on the team. And I gotta tell you, that's one of the most interesting storylines, and you'd never get away with that in most Transformers shows, and that's just kind of like points to victory. So yeah, it's really, I love the character story behind Hellbat, because it just makes him like way more interesting. Of course, he does have his breast animal, which is bat breast or bat chest. It actually has 2 modes. It can stand up like this, or you can fold its head so it's flying. So, you know, of course, the 2 modes that a bat would have, which is flying and perching. And you can kind of like even fold the wings up like that, which I think is so cool. He transforms exceedingly similar to Gaihawk, because that's just kind of how the combination is done. I'm actually going to try to do this slightly better than I did last time. First of all, you want to get the back panel detached from the legs. So you just kind of slide it. You can see this whole piece slides forward. We then can split this, which will take the hand, and then we're going to get this panel flipped out so we can bring leg down, panel closed, tail fin back, foot out, come around here, hand goes into leg, boom, boom, just nice and easy. Pull these back. I'm going to pull the nose cone back next, so that way we can kind of line all that up. Pull the hands down like so. Turn his head around, and then boom, there he is. Let's get the Breastmaster on there, and there is Hellbat, and I like him too. I think the Guyhawk and Hellbat mold is my favorite on the set, because it provides such a clean robot. I am going to move the Breastmaster out of the way, or the breast animal. I keep want to call it a Breastmaster just because it's like, you know, Headmaster, Target Master, Brain Master. Anyways, love the head sculpt. He's got that very cool, like, bat-inspired design. Love the faceplate. He's very menacing looking. He was a bit of a loser when he debuted, but he did do significant stuff. Also, if you're probably wondering, how did he get away with murdering the teammate? It was because he blamed it on the Autobots that drove up. It's funny, because the Autobots that drove up were the Micromasters. So he was like, yeah, these Micromasters, they showed up and they killed Deathcobra. It's crazy. I can't believe it happened. Anyways, the lie worked and he got on the team. But yeah, he just looks cool. I love I love that the two jet arm guys have chests that look fine without the breast animal on it. He does have, of course, a gun mode for this, which is like that, which kind of looks silly. Then, of course, we've got the spear, and then, of course, we've got his stand component, which just works the same as Gaihawk, which is where you just plug this gigantic stand arm into his butt. And then boom, there we go. There's Hellbat in all his glory. Now, of course, we have all 6 components of Liokaiser. Let's put the team together in robot mode first before we take a look at them in vehicle mode together. All right, so here is the 6 of them united. You can see they're all about the same height, which is pretty impressive considering how the combination will go, but they look really, really nice together. I think as individual components, they're pretty solid. Of course, the main attraction of the whole set is the combination of Liokaiser, but as a set of 6, they are some pretty nice bots. Now let's take a look at them in vehicle mode. So when you have all 6 assembled together, they look pretty great, especially because, yes, of course, as I've been hinting at, the stands can have the jets fly, which makes total sense. This way you can recreate that shot from the victory opening of the entire BreastForce showing up together, which is really, really cool. I think this is like a great use of the stand components, is to have, you know, not only the robot modes can fly like I showed, but you can have the jet modes flying above the vehicles. I like the way that this is 3 jet vehicles, 3 ground vehicles, and that's pretty awesome. All right, let's get the combination going. Basically, for the leg guys, you want to just put them back into vehicle mode to get started, which, you know, we've kind of gone over it before, but I kind of want to do it at least once. I'm not going to do it for both of them because they transform basically the same, but you want to get them back into vehicle mode, which means you got to get all this scrunched down, right? And again, the reason I am doing this on camera instead of just saying do the reverse of what I did earlier is because the hand thing. So you want to get the hands down, arm pegged in, and then the hands, I think, rotated this way. Is that it? Is this the way? Yeah, that's the way. I think. This is the part that tripped me up earlier. Yep, and there we go. Okay. So with this guy in particular, you got to have the hand in the correct direction so that way it doesn't go flying off like it just did. So we want to get this here so the hand is facing this way and then plug it on. See, it goes perfect that way. But if you have it at any other angle, it's not going to work. So just rotate. Should keep both sides out. I'm getting directionally mixed up on camera because that's what you do. You put the camera on and then your brain stops working. All right, so we'll just flip these around. And then this is the part that's a little different, is that we're going to take the drill tank part that's going to come down like that. I'm going to rotate this up and around, and then we're going to plug this back on. Now, if you have the chest master, the cool part is you can plug him right back on, like here. Boom, clicked in, done, nice and secure. You can leave him there. For the combination, we'll fold out the heel spur. We'll fold out the foot. There's Drillhorn. So Killbison, I already put him mostly into tank mode, but I did want to show the one difference, which is, of course, the head system. So let's get that out of the way to make it easier. Flip head, pop the panel back, put head away, flip the knee joint out, close that back up. You want to make sure it lines up correctly because there is a little slot and tab system. Boom, put the breastmaster back, plug that back on the side of the leg, heel, foot, done. All right, we're going to do Gaihawk next. We're going to have to remove the breastmaster. It's just going to go off to the side for now. He kind of half transforms back into his vehicle mode, but you want to kind of get the head flipped up here, and then as soon as you flip the head all the way, you're going to get that component. Put the arms where they are normally for his vehicle mode, line this all up like that, and you can kind of see he's got an elbow joint, right? So we're going to get this together. So you want to make sure to line this up where this part slides back. Boom, rotate your hand around, curl out the fingers, there's the hand, flip the panel up, close the leg like that, flip the panel back down, and then plug it together, lock it in place, boom, 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 there we go. Now we have one of the arms. The thing I like about this is that it is complex enough to hold everything together, but it's not so overly complex. It's still fun to transform is kind of the point. So for Hellbat, we're going to do the same thing, but mirrored for the appearance of course, the opposite arm. But it's still basically the same thing that we did with Gaihawk. Like, again, the simplicity and the ease of use. And now I'm just realizing I did miss a step on Gaihawk. You need to fold these little panels up so that they're out of the way of Liokaiser. So, and bear with me here. Missed one little step, but it'll make all the difference later. All right, and then the same thing with the hand, except it's just the opposite leg because it's the opposite hand. Do love that the hands are just included in the actual figures themselves, not like a separate piece, not like the skeleton systems. It's just all nicely integrated into the figures here. We're going to curl the fingers out, rotate the hand around. There's your elbow bend, and then just make sure all this is nicely pegged together. There's our other arm. Now, Jallguar is going to be a little bit more complex. Obviously, we do have this piece here, which is the waist and hips. So this is going to connect to him. We're going to first take these side rockets off, and these side rockets will then plug on here, but we need to get him in place first because you can see it needs to plug into a part there, but we want to make sure we don't lose those. All right, so then we're going to take and fold him nice and neat, plug his legs together. He can leave, his breast can stay. You can fold the face around, bring this all back. And then this is where it gets more complex for him over all the others. Basically, you want to get the arms up. Just realize the pegs need to stay towards the inside. And then bring this like this. And then, if you see here, there is a nice a kind of rail system to go into that slot. So you just line this up, and it slides forward, and it locks in place. Nice and easy. Then you can plug the hip rockets. They go into the hole, and then they line up there. So you do that, and then you bring this piece. It can rotate freely, but you want to get it up here. So this slot goes into that tab. So it just comes up, nice and neat, locks in place, keeps that whole thing nice and clean and simulates the look of the original design. And so we're going to get this plugged on there, bring this up, make sure you line up with the slot there, and then boom, that's ready to go. And we're just going to kind of leave all that because he's going to merge with Leozack. All right, now we're going to do Leozack, of course the leader, probably one of the more complicated parts. We're going to take off lion breast off his chest there, and then we're going to start converting him into the torso piece. Isn't that weird when I say convert instead of transform? We're going to transform him. All right, so first of all, I'm going to plug the legs together because what we need to do here is we need to like kind of T-pose him, flip his skirts up, and then pull this part back, pull this panel forward. We then want to rotate the waist. Then we're going to flip the head so that way the Liokaiser head is out now instead of the Leozack head. And then we're going to bring this component back up and closed so you can kind of see nice and neat and flush there. So then we're going to bring the legs up, and you can see that we've got these kind of two tabs, make one square tab to go in there. We're going to bring the wing pieces in all the way. They will slot into those tabs in there. Bring the arms down, fold the hands away, bring the arm, peg it in there, fold the hand away, bring the arm, peg it in there. And then we've pretty much got everything ready to go to combine him with Jallguar. So the cool part is that this is actually a really, really solid combination with this component. So first of all, the slot, which we used for the combination, or for the stand, I mean, the slot is actually used for the combination. So you slot them in like that, push it as far as you can go. Then the hip skirts will peg in and clip in there. We're going to bring Jallguar up, and these two slots will go with these two tabs, and these two tabs will go into the two slots in the feet. So we just get this lined up, we peg in, nice and neat, peg the arms down over there. And so now we've got peg and slot, slot and tab, peg, 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 slot. Which means torso ain't going anywhere. That is one of the most secure connections I've seen on a modern Transformer, and I'm actually really, really impressed, in particular, how this part comes together for the torso. All right, now we're going to get them together. We're just going to basically do pretty straightforward stuff. You just need to line up the slots with the locking mechanism. It's got kind of the Combiner Wars style spring connection. So we're just going to get that in there. I kind of find it's good to kind of bend it a little bit, get it in place. Then come up here, and the arms will just connect there. Wing comes back out. Connect arm here. Wing comes back out. And then we come around to the back. Hawk breast can plug on right there. Bat breast on the same spot on the other side. Then lion breast will plug on right here, like that. Come around, fold his little ears up, and there is Liokaiser. So Liokaiser is very tall and impressive. Of course, we'll do a bunch of size comparisons after we get through the review part. We'll do a whole size comparison segment. But this is solid. This is fantastic. This is so much a great apology from Omega Prime. Putting together Omega Prime felt like something was going to break just off the design. Whereas this feels like combination perfection. This really just feels great. I'm not just praising it for the sake of praising it. I really think that, like, you know, when you shake him and you can see his knees will kind of flop a little bit because that's like a ratchet joint. But like, you can hold him from any part of this and he's not going to, like, you can hold it from here and it's like, you know, oh, do you have to worry about like the leg just coming off? And it's like, well, at least on my copy, no problem there. If you hold him by the arms actually move up. So they're actually still really locked in. Everything about him just feels good. Everything about him just feels like it should. Like, he is a premium price Transformers item, and he feels like it. You know, he feels really, really solid. Like, he's still a Hasbro product, but he feels good. He's got a good feel to him. All right, let's talk about articulation, because it's actually pretty impressive for a combiner. So he's got the head movement, which actually is got a little bit of an upward tilt option as well, which is really cool. We'll move the little wing out of the way. So he's got 360 shoulders, shoulders that move up. You got arms that move out there. The actual bicep swivel is in place. Got a full 90 elbow bend, wrist swivel, as well as having articulating fingers. It's a group of 3 and then a group of 1. which is pretty cool. Plus, he's got 5mm clips in there. In terms of a waist joint, he's got one sort of. If you flip this skirt piece up, you can see they put a lower waist, so he actually has a waist swivel because of the standalone hips, which those move out, forward and back, thigh swivel, knee bend, and then big old ankle tilts on both sides. So you can get him, if you really want to put him, I don't know how long he'll stay standing just because of like physics, but if you want to put him in a dramatic widespread pose, you totally could. And I think that's pretty awesome. I'm going to zoom out in a moment. I'm trying to make sure he's balanced so I don't watch him collapse. But there we go. Look at that. Yeah, that's pretty awesome. Not many combiners can do that. They've been kind of getting better at them. Studio Series Devastator is a good example, but like that is pretty dang awesome. I'm really happy with it. Now, in terms of extra accessories for this guy, the display stands and the spears and the weapons were extra add-ons for the actual campaign. They were the tiers. And I mentioned how the spears were stored down here. Well, there's also 6 of these little things. And then there's also 6 of these, which are these chain connectors. And so you can take all these and whip them together into weapons for Liokaiser. And so Liokaiser's main weapon from the cartoon is replicated here. So you've got all these different components, right? These slidey parts can slide in place. You can attach the chains. So this is one of the default combinations. It's, of course, based on the series. And these just clip into his hands like, I say nice and easy, but it's just not exactly going in easy. Probably better just take off the part here and then just slide it up through the bottom, as I feel his entire weight balance is shifted by me trying to do this on camera instead of prepping it in advance. Hooray! Because I'm trying to keep him dramatic. There we go. And then we can have, because you see, you can try to push it through, but you can also just slide it through. There we go. So now he's got his main weapon, which is awesome. And on top of that, you do get a bunch of extra components. Like here, you can make a whole separate set like this, because there's, if you make this combination, there's still a total of 4 spikes there, 2 more rods, 2 more of those, a total of 3 extra chains. I just keep dropping them, so we're just not going to worry about it. So you got a lot of options if you wanted to mix it up and give him some more variety. Now, Liokaiser does have a ranged weapon mode, which, weirdly enough, I didn't see listed in the instructions. I might have just missed it, but basically you take the cannon from Killbison, which just comes off like this, and then it's like, all right, there you go. And then you plug it on to his hand, and he can hold it. And it actually, it not only plugs onto his hand, there's a slot there and a tab, so it completely locks in place. And then those 2 pegs that were on top, well, those are so you take the rocket pieces from the hips, pop those off here, put the hip pieces back in, nice and easy. I just sent it flying. And then these plug on top for extra firepower. This is something that was on the original toy, something that was definitely seen in the cartoon and in artwork. Weirdly, I just didn't see like anything mentioning it in the promo stuff for the booklet, the instruction booklet. But hey, there you go. So now you guys, cannon mode, he's able to shoot down the dastardly Cybertrons that he's tracking down. But I think what's fun about it is that it does give him a big old cannon, but I do like the ninja weapons a little more. Now, the thing with Liokaiser is just like all the other Haslabs, you do have an option for a stand, which in this case, you got 3 of these, right? And these are pretty hefty. These are large, chunky slabs of plastic. We're going to pull the stand arms off of 2 of them, because what we're going to do here is we're going to link them together. So you can take these little pieces here, and that'll allow you to connect all 3 stands together. On the underside, you just put that in, and then now you've got a big old stand that is more for Liokaiser, because he's got a pretty big, wide berth of a foot peg. So you got that. We're going to need to take the stand arm, and you can see where the peg is. We're going to add this new adapter piece. So you'll plug that on like that. So you've got those pegs there, and then you plug this down, and then you're going to bring them around, and you can see on the back there is a big old peg for the stand, and you can plug that on. So you can plug it on like this for a dramatic wide stance, or you can plug it on a little bit higher, and then his feet free float a little bit, but that also means like you don't have to worry about gravity taking him down, because it still looks like he's got his feet square on the ground, right? But he can kind of free float a little bit. Like if you pull his legs up, he's still going to be pretty stable, which is awesome, because there's another part of this toy that is going to make him a little bit harder to stand on his own without the stand. And I think it's time to talk about how Hellbat may have killed Deathcobra. That doesn't mean Deathcobra didn't come along for the ride. So, as one of the stretch goals for the campaign was Deathcobra in his first ever toy. Now, Deathcobra is a great addition to the set because of the story with Hellbat, right? I already told the story, but yeah, Deathcobra has like 8 minutes of screen time, but enough to get, a basic design element going, which could turn into a toy, which is what we have here, and I think it's so cool. He shares some kind of engineering things with Hellbat and Gaihawk because they have a really cool way you can combine them with the overall component, but because he's a helicopter, he's a different vehicle shape, and I think it's really cool. The rotor blade does spin, nice and easy, spins good. The tail rotor also spins pretty good. You can actually remove the rotor, and the actual spinny part is on the blades as opposed to being inside the vehicle mode. You can also pivot the gun down here, which is super, super cool. I do love the overall look of it. And just like with the other vehicles, like the jets, you can attach him to the display stand in helicopter mode. And I can honestly see, like, maybe, if you want to just kind of keep him in helicopter mode next to the combined Liokaiser, that's an option too. So that's pretty awesome. Now, the other cool part is that we do see his breast animal for the first time. Darn, the dang naming conventions of Transformers trip me up. But anyways, this is Cobra Breast or Cobra Chest, and he is brand new, just like the toy is. But it's based on, of course, what we saw from the chest design of Deathcobra in the episode. He only had like 8 minutes of screen time, so we never saw the breast animal separate, and he never had a toy before, so that kind of makes sense as to why that is. You just fold this up, and then there is pretty much all you need to do with him. But let's transform him, because he's actually pretty fun to transform. A lot of reasons, because he is just completely brand new from the others, whereas the others kind of have a similar like pattern going on. Like he has this kind of double knee sort of situation to get his legs together and stuff, which I think is fun. You got that, but you can kind of see the design elements that are shared. Like there's the hand for Liokaiser in there, because yes, he does become an arm. You can swap out Hellbat for Deathcobra as an arm, which is so fun because it makes so much sense that, like, yeah, Hellbat took his spot on the team, literally, because Deathcobra would have otherwise been the arm component for Liokaiser. And then let's bring his head there. Look at that. That's a cool head design. And then, of course, we do need to... oh, yeah, the rotor. I kind of forgot to put the rotor in. So the rotor is separate. You got to fold it up. Yeah, so we want to make sure the rotor goes in here, faces downward. And you can just kind of squeeze it to get it clipped into place. And then this will just all kind of sit like that. And then, of course, we're going to plug his breast animal on. And then, boom, there's Deathcobra. This is pretty fun because basically they just had to design, how did he look in the robot mode in the episode and then work from there. And I think they did a nice, successful job. You can, of course, give him the spear, just like the others. So if you wanted to go full role play of like, yeah, he is the actual true member and that faker Hellbat doesn't deserve it, you can totally swap Deathcobra in with all of the good stuff. What's also nice is that you can see we've got 5mm pegs on his arms, which means if you want, you can actually use the rotor blade as a weapon, either as a forward like slicer, or if you wanted to have it kind of like out on his arm. It won't spin because the spin part is not 5mm, but you got that. Oh, and then of course we do have his breast animal, which can become its weapon form. So we fold that out, and then we fold the little like pew part out, and then plug it into his hand, or you can plug it onto his arm. It doesn't have to be picky. And then there he is. So pretty awesome. I think it's just like the novelty to me of having Deathcobra is so worth it, and I'm so glad we reached the stretch goal. It was the first stretch goal. I think they kind of had an idea in mind. They're like, yeah, we're not going to design a whole figure if we don't think we're going to make the stretch goals. And so we made it. And he's so cool. He's so cool having him. He does have the flight stand compatibility as well. So they made him a fully featured figure, so you can plug him onto the kooky stand, which is awesome. And yeah, I just really, really love his inclusion, because it's something where it's like, yeah, it's not just let's just remake the original toy. It's like, let's add something that was in the show that never had a plastic form before. And I think that's just such an awesome addition. But of course, we need to have him kind of with the rest of the team and of course into the combination. In another world, in another time, this would have been the opening shot to victory of the BreastForce with Deathcobra in place of Hellbat. Kind of fun. Just, I love that they included this guy in this set. So there it is, Leozack's original planned lineup for the Liokaiser part of the team. Yeah, it's pretty cool to just see like this what if. It's like, what if Deathcobra was there instead of Hellbat? And so, I mean, there's all 7 together if you want all 7 in one go, because there's a couple different options with combining Deathcobra into the rest of the team. And I think that's super fun. Alright, so let's give Deathcobra his rightful place as the left arm of Liokaiser. So, it's pretty cool. He can become the arm that he was intended to be. So, he does transform kind of similar to Gaihawk and Hellbat, of course, because he is doing a similar part. I'm realizing don't turn the head around. It won't fit otherwise. But he has a lot of different tricks and techniques because of how he works. So, the way it's going to work, of course, just like the others, you got to get the hand out and the leg moved on one side, like so, and then the hand out and the leg moved on the other side, and then the panel goes in. Not the hand, the panel. Words, they have meaning. All right, so get all that together. There we go. And then we're going to come around here, and then you're going to make sure to test your elbow joint, get your hand out like that, and then there we go. So from here, it's pretty straightforward. Just want to bring this down like this, line those all up, peg the arms together. You got that whole look going on. Pretty nice looking arm. Then, of course, you can also plug on the rotor, and the rotor plugs on with the actual rotor parts. So if you wanted to have them with a spinning piece there, you can, but you know, that kind of holds it all together. And then, of course, you got the Cobra breast, which we'll put right there on the back. And there is his arm form. All right, so we're going to just rip Hellbat off of here. And then make sure to flip up this panel I forgot to flip up. And connect Deathcobra. There we go. So this is pretty cool. I think this is a really great way to incorporate the character and the story into the figure. I'm actually going to move the rotor down because it's just kind of moving it for me right now. But anyways, that's how Liokaiser would look if Deathcobra didn't get assassinated by Hellbat. So that's pretty awesome. I love that. I really do think that is one of my favorite things about this set, is the inclusion of a story beat, and a very memorable story beat at that, into the toy. And I think that just adds to the overall experience. It just looks so cool. You know, the symmetry is thrown off, obviously, because, you know, when it was originally designed for Hellbat. Deathcobra was never part of the toy design. He was just part of the story because they thought it'd be interesting. So you can kind of see there's some symmetry there, but, you know, symmetry's thrown off a little bit, but, you know, those aren't exactly symmetrical either, so it kind of works. But I think it's a really cool option. Now, of course, Hasbro designers and Takara designers working together does provide some magic, because I think they all thought, well, okay, how many people are actually going to make Deathcobra into an arm and replace Hellbat? But is there a way that we could have Deathcobra combine with the team while Hellbat stays as an arm? And the answer is yes. So instead of Deathcobra just becoming an arm, he can combine with the rest of them by becoming a shoulder cannon for Liokaiser, which means he has a 4th mode. And so in order to transform into that, we're going to kind of half transform him back into vehicle mode a little bit. I want to get this whole piece up here. And so we're basically going to get him kind of reoriented the way that his vehicle mode works, with like the secondary knees up here, and then lock him in place. So we've got him, he's basically just kind of sitting like that. Then we're then going to plug on the cobra breast up here into this part of it, because it'll kind of neatly tuck away, nice and neat. Don't forget to flip out the gun for the shoulder cannon. That makes a lot of sense, right? And we'll bring this part down and kind of line it all up like this, nice and easy. Then make sure these are pegged in, fold this component down, bring the rotor all the way out, and then we will fold this back up. So it kind of keeps the rotor in a specific spot, and we'll leave this down. So it kind of bounces back and forth, but doesn't fully spin. And yes, that is the cannon. It's going to look a lot cooler from the front, but from a shoulder cannon perspective, it just looks like the helicopter boat where he folded his legs back. But it is nice and neat. You can see we've got one cannon there. Now the fun part is that basically to make the full shoulder cannon combination, you actually attach all the other breast animals to him. So if we bring in all 6 breast animals now pulled off of Liokaiser, we can plug them all on to the specific spots in the shoulder cannon mode. So that way he's got all the extra firepower, and it kind of looks like he's amplified by the breast animals, which I think is really cool. Obviously, if they have a fold-out gun, you want to make sure to fold out the gun, because that just makes the most sense. You want to have maximum firepower, you got to have maximum gun barrels. And I do kind of like the way that like Cobra breast fits in there nice and neat. And so I like this idea that instead of the breast animals just kind of hanging out in the back, not doing anything, you can actually get them all plugged on here to make it look like they're contributing to the overall combination and the extra firepower that's going into it. And then this is the interesting one, is you got to get the lion one, the lion breast up there, and then get the cobra breast to be right under it. So now it's got extra super duper firepower, which is awesome, even though this one's just going to be shooting into the tail rotor. Well, whatever, it's close enough. It's a giant shoulder cannon. But how does it attach to Liokaiser? Well, we're going to take Liokaiser, we're going to fold this wing forward, we're then going to move these pieces up on Gaihawk, so we can bring the wings down. We're going to peg them into the arms, so it's a nice, complete, flat surface. You can even bring those down. We're then going to use this peg here, and it's going to attach to this peg here on Deathcobra, the breast animal peg in the middle, and then the green tab there goes into the slot on the wing. Do some slight tweaks there. Boom, there we go. Shoulder cannon combination for Liokaiser. A new thing made just for this toy that didn't exist before, but it's pretty cool. It's a good way to integrate Deathcobra into the combination. It's also a good reason to have the big-ass stand, because while Liokaiser's still pretty stable, you're throwing off his balance by putting a giant shoulder cannon on one of his shoulders. And with him on the stand, yeah, he's not going to go anywhere. It's pretty solid. So really, really cool. It's a pretty secure connection when you get it like fully rendered. You can see it's a little bit heavy on the shoulder just because, well, I mean, why wouldn't it be? It's an entire other guy that's been added to the shoulder part. But I think by having the kind of the balance here, sort of works. But it does sort of just kind of float there. But I think it's cool. I think it's a really neat idea to go, hey, what if we had all 7 combined together? And it works pretty well. So say you want to have Deathcobra as the arm and Hellbat as the shoulder cannon. I mean, he kind of stole his place on the team to begin with, right? Well, I think we got a way to do it. There's no official instructions, though, according to the designers. This was intended. For me, this is how I'm going to do it, because I couldn't find an official image of this. This is how I'm going to make a shoulder cannon configuration for Hellbat. And I'm going to do this. I'm going to get this all kind of neat and clean put together like that, and then I'm just going to plug it on like I would the Deathcobra shoulder cannon, and we're just going to plop him on there like that, and I'm going to lift that just to kind of steady it. And because of the jet thruster, I think it's a pretty convincing shoulder cannon. Now, of course, I don't think he has enough pegs to put all of the BreastForce on, so I'm just gonna plug his breast animal there. So yeah, you totally can. If you want to have Hellbat as the shoulder cannon instead of Deathcobra, that option does exist. It basically works the same way. It's just not as I don't think it's as intentional, but I do think it works. You just turn him into a jet, fold his wings up, plug him on, and he's got a thruster. He can do blasting stuff. So pretty fun. I love when they add stuff to these that just didn't exist before, because it goes kind of like a, hey, why not? And you know what? Why not? I think it's great. Alright, for size comparisons, here's Leozack and Jallguar with recent Deluxe Class Transformers. Here's Hellbat and Killbison, which are the same sizes as Guyhawk and Drillhorn. Here's Gaihawk and Drillhorn with a recent Voyager and Leader Class Transformer. Here's Jallguar and Leozak with the same comparison. And then here's Deathcobra next to a Deluxe, a Voyager, and a Leader. And then here's the 4 unique molds with Deathsaurus, as well as Victory Saber and Dino King. And then here is Leozack with Saber, of course, from Star Saber. I just kind of want to put them side by side because they're both guys that technically, according to the animation, should be bigger, but because they're part of combinations, that they scaled the combinations more than components is what I'm saying. But kind of fun to see them side by side. All right, so here we have Liokaiser with Combiner Contemporaries. We have Superion, who's the size of the skeletal system combiners that we've been seeing in Age of the Primes. And then we have Devastator from Studio Series 86, which is kind of very similar to Liokaiser in terms of construction, because he has a detached waist and he has detached hands, and then everything else is like integrated, whereas this guy's got everything integrated except for the waist, which is incredible. So you can kind of see size-wise, he fits the size of the other multi-part combiners we got going on, and I think it's pretty awesome. They look really nice together. Like, they look like they go together. Here we have Liokaiser with the previous Haslab, the ever-cursed Omega Prime. So you can see he's actually he's towering over him, because Omega Prime's got like blue bolts up there, but they're about the same size. It does feel like most Haslabs for Transformers now, post-Unicron, are about this kind of very large size, which is fun. And for scale consistency, we have a Deluxe, a Voyager, and a Leader. I tried to get, with these comparisons, I tried to get average sizes, but Deluxe and Voyagers are all over the place in size lately. Like, some Deluxes are kind of tall, some of them are a little bit shorter, and then Leaders are doing... It's just, here, a recent Leader, Voyager, and a Deluxe, just to kind of give some kind of size comparison. And obviously, we have to compare Liokaiser with Deathsaurus and Victory Saber from Victory, also to prior Haslabs. Really, really cool to see all these together. I'm also going to throw in, we got a Galaxy Shuttle that was off of an Astro Train that worked pretty good. We got a Dino King that was off of the Volcanic Hiss Core Combiner. This is with the upgrade set, for anyone wondering why mine might look a little bit better with the articulated fingers and stuff. I got the upgrade kit for that guy. And then, of course, we got the Micromasters, the 4 that we got as little bonuses to include in our display. So we're doing insanely well for Victory to have modern toy representation. We're only a few away. I mean, we're kind of starting to run into some of the problematic ones, like basically the guys like Six Liner and Road Caesar. They're very complex to try to engineer into modern toys because the old toys weren't that great because of the limitations. So, you know, we'll see how they go. But, you know, Hasbro and Takara do seem very committed to finishing the Victory cast because we have most of it now. I think we're closer to finishing Victory than we are most Transformers series in modern lines. And that's pretty awesome. I gotta say, it's a really cool feeling, especially for someone that loves Victory. This is great, and I am so happy with Liokaiser. I want to say, I don't want to make a judgment call since he is so new, but he might be the best one out of everything. I mean, definitely these guys. These guys are like repaint, retool territory, but of these 3, I think Liokaiser might be the best one. At least it's the one I really, really like. I think he's the most fun to play with. These guys have a little bit of finickiness, but this guy is just, he's really good. So really, really good. So last thing on this before I kind of wrap up, I love that you can store pretty much everything on him. Like all the chest animals and stuff can store on him. He can, of course, hold the weapon. You can also store the weapon and all its components underneath the stands. The stands all connect together. And so if you have this combination with the shoulder cannon and everything, the only thing left to the side are the other 2 stand arms. And that's pretty impressive because some of these Haslabs do leave a lot of extra accessories sitting to the side after the final combination. This one definitely does not, which I really, really appreciate. I love Liokaiser. I really am happy with how this turned out. I'm hoping, let's give him a dramatic point like he's pointing at us. I really hope that my copies QC and everything is consistent with most people's experiences, because if that's the case, I think that Hasbro managed to salvage the Transformers Haslab brand a little bit with this guy, at least for me. At least for me. For me, I was, after the Omega Prime QC problems, after some other Haslab disasters, I've kind of been like, man, I don't know if I want to back another Transformers Haslab or any Haslab, but at least I can see with the Transformers team, I feel like, depends on what it is, right? Whatever the next Transformers Haslab is, if it's something I do want, I'm not going to feel as nervous about getting it as I would have been if we hadn't had this in hand already. I think they specifically said they wanted to hold off the next Haslab until everybody got their Liokaisers, and that was a really smart move, because Omega Prime burned so much goodwill, because the Transformers Haslab has been pretty consistently the best Haslabs out of any of the Hasbro brands, and yet, yeah, they burned so much goodwill with that Omega Prime. And so for me, Star Saber, or Victory Saber is great, Death Saurus is great, Liokaiser is great, Omega Prime's the weird outlier. And that part of that comes from his legacy of being a toy that's never had really a solid release, which is sad that they still couldn't figure it out. So for me, how do I feel about Transformers Haslab now that I have Liokaiser? I feel like if the next one is something I want, I'll probably back it. This is kind of restored my confidence a bit. Like I said, I hadn't had basically no QC issues with mine. I mean, the most is that the knees get kind of a little loosey, and I think that maybe just because of the weight of the legs. That's it. He still holds together incredibly well. Everything is so solid. I love the combination. So for me, this is a win. For me, this is an absolute win. Your mileage may vary, of course, depending on who you are. But for me, I'm pretty happy with the final result here. And yeah, I'm pretty happy with the final result. That's pretty much all I got to say on this. So that does it for this video on Haslab Liokaiser. Best of luck to all of you that didn't back it, that want one. Good luck on the aftermarket. A bunch got made, so hopefully price isn't too insane. But if you enjoyed this, hit the like button, hit subscribe, and the notification bell, hit the hype button if it's available to you. If you haven't already, I appreciate doing all that stuff. If you want to continue the conversation, you can join our Discord server in the link below. And if you'd like as well, you can join as a channel member, and there's perks available like early access to videos and special shoutouts. Let's give some special shoutouts to some of our channel members. Special shout out to these Captain Tier channel members: Spin-54, Forever1000, Master Ben 95, Super Shadix Boom, Veloquence, Mr. Smelly Potato, Alt Mode Archive, Alice James, Taran Thomas, Headbang1211, Incurgio, and Big Guido KC. Thank you all for your support of this channel, viewers and channel members alike. If you so wish, I'm on social media on Blue Sky and Letterboxd at Soundout12. You can find my wonderful graphic designer on social media and Discord at DarkClaw643, and you can find Hero Club at hero-club.com for entertainment, news, and more. And until next time, this is Soundout saying, here's to this staying as the consistent quality that Haslab should be.